I see you found our little hiding spot in the universe. Don't get too comfortable. This is a place where you will find those with an experience that's out of this world, or possibly deep within your life. I welcome you to the Oracles with James Tyson. Lean forward and listen. We will pull you into a supernatural journey with guests from around the world, each one experiencing some of the most extraordinary phenomena this wee planet has to offer. I wish to invite you to support the program through the Oracles with JamesTyson.com Patreon link. For as little as $3 per month, you qualify for a free monthly psychic reading, a past life regression, and exclusive access to our filmed interviews. Don't lower your guard. That's just the beginning as we give back. When I have reached 2,222 members, we will be giving away monthly trips to supernatural hotspots and conferences across North America. Don't run. I can see you. With a limit of 4,500 Patreon supporters, you will want to get your passports ready, as every third month, we will include paranormal conferences and tours in Europe and Australia. I know you can hear me. Visit theoracleswithjamestyson.com and click on the Patreon link. Where are you listening? That's the Patreon button at theoracleswithjamestyson.com. Now, here are the Oracles with James Tyson.
Thank you, Lehman. Thank you, listener, for tuning into this episode of the Oracles with James Tyson. I am James Tyson. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and really appreciate you dropping by, because tonight I have that fabulous psychic medium and so much more, Skeeter Welhouse. It's very interesting. What we're going to talk about tonight with Skeeter is, basically how many times she's died. It seems like, I think she's on 5 or 6, I believe. Every time she dies, it's like getting in, taking your computer in for an upgrade, and she comes back with a lot stronger intuitiveness and abilities. She has taken a few courses, like hypnotherapy and things like that. She does past life regressions. She does memory retrieval. So we were down at the was a Pasadena UFO conference last summer, the 2018 summer in Pasadena, California, and she was actually getting people who had thought they may have had a ET encounter, and she was doing memory retrieval on them, and sure enough, about 90% of them really did have an ET encounter. And it was very, very interesting, but not as interesting as her trip there with her cohort, who has never experienced this kind of thing before. Now Skeeter has been subject of a ET abduction, and so happens on the same highway, the Highway 101, going into Highway 1 down the coast of Oregon into California, up in Northern California through San Francisco. And on her way down to Pasadena last year, she experienced ET activity and ghost activity that would make a great movie. And the girl she was driving down with had never been exposed to that. So this is going to be interesting, because I'm going to talk to her about that. And poor Selena, the girl who was in the passenger side, as like the windows would fog up and there'd be hand marks on it while some being was trying to get into the vehicle. It's incredible. Lost time and weird locations that really don't exist if you're going down that highway, and little towns where the sky is cherry red at 3 a.m, and there are people walking around with their children like it was Sunday afternoon. Weird experiences she had, and thank goodness her spirit guides were really getting engaged. And she actually, at one point, I believe she channeled one of her spirit guides, and he drove. So just to get through the mess. And similar thing happened on the way back, and a bit of a time shift. So I was teaser, if you want a time machine, it's a 2001 Honda Civic. And I am going to ask her about some of the other things that she experienced as a toddler, whether they're Bigfoot or ETs, and how her intuitive abilities was increasing as she got older and older. she's been working in the paranormal field for, professionally, I guess, for the last 5 years. And I guess you'd call it a really eclectic collection of experiences with various paranormal events and phenomena since she was, well, like I said, she was a toddler and up there dealing with Bigfoot in Colorado. She's always felt she was more part of that world than us humans in this world here. And it's not been too long since she's really begun sharing her insights in order to assist her clients and others through their own experiences. So, seeing how they kind of matched with hers and helping them through, whether it's clearing a ghost or kind of helping heal them. Her primary loves include past life work and necromancy, which isn't that other thing. Necromancy is actually working with the dead, utilizing ritual and magic. Although recently she's had a lot more ET experiences and cryptozoological, and they're really working hard to get her attention, which is one of the little things we're going to run into when she talks about her trip down the highway to the redwoods. She's currently working out of her office in Tacoma, Washington, and you can call her anytime down there. She uses her talents and skills just to basically assist others while writing her first book, the Trinity Chronicles. And now it's due out in October of, I think it's 2020. And it's based on her own past life memories and experiences. So yeah, it's a book basically based on all her past lives. She's also preparing to host Tacoma's first spirit pagan focused paranormal conference in October of 2019. And she's kind of brought that up because there hasn't been an area where people get a good spot for that type of believers or those type of believers. And it's going to be a fun educational environment and basically a safe setting where people aren't going to run around going, oh, you're a pagan? Well, you must, sacrifice goats and things like that. Well, no, they don't do that. Or maybe I should ask her if they do that. I shouldn't actually put words into her mouth. Skeeter and I have also, we're going to talk a bit about clearing ghosts because she used to pop into my old show, Two Mediums and a Large. And one of the things we do is if you've got a spirit or you think you have one in your house, just give me a call. Go to my website at theoracleswithjamestyson.com or go to her website, bluemoonweaver.com, and let us know, and Skeeter will remote view, and that's all around the planet. She'll do it all over the world, and then she'll see if it's a ghost or you got squirrels in the attic. She does that, and then you and I and Skeeter will interview the ghost and find out what it's doing there and see if it wants to go, and we can cross them over. And a lot of times they want to stay, and it's up to you whether you want them to stay or not. But that's what we do, and it's free. So, again, give us a shout. And we'll be giving websites out throughout the interview. But again, she is bluemoonweaver.com. Skeeter Welhouse, bluemoonweaver.com. And I think I've taken enough of your time out. Let's go check with Skeeter. Skeeter, how you doing?
Good. How are you tonight?
I am excellent, and want to say thanks for hanging out with me at the Oregon Ghost Conference down in Seaside, Oregon. Always a pleasure to see you down there. We're sitting across from each other, flicking elastic bands at each other. Actually, we're ordering pizza, and had a good time down there. Now, Skeeter, for the new listener who is I've dragged in kicking and screaming and in here, give us a little idea when your gifts started up.
The first memory I have of my gifts working is at the age of 22 months when I just came out of surgery. I was in what they call a clean area because I had just had my right eye removed. I remember a woman being in there with me. She patted my back. She told me everything was okay, that I was going to be okay. I remember every detail about her. And everybody told me that she didn't exist, that it was in my mind. Later on in life, when I had a driver's license and a car, I went to the hospital where the surgery was done, and I found a bunch of old nurses' pictures. Honestly, I think she was leading me to the pictures, but I saw her in the pictures, and that's how I knew I had experienced my first full-body apparition at the age of 22 months.
Wow. So she would have been somebody who passed obviously long before you were at 22 months then.
Yes, she was actually with the hospital during treatment, during the big tuberculosis scare. She was one of the nurses who worked at the hospital during that time. And she had, the paper hat with the red cross on it, and she had the pressed white uniform, and her black hair was pinned up in the appropriate curls that looked very, 40s, about 40s.
So you say this was you were at 22 months. What happened? That got you to that point? What was wrong with your eye?
I actually had a very unique form of a childhood cancer known as retinoblastoma. It affected only the right eye. The tumor was incredibly large. They were a little bit surprised by it and the fact that it was perfectly encapsulated within the eye casing, which was weird. Even despite its growth, it was so huge they couldn't tell if it was a single cancerous tumor that had compacted in on itself or if it was multiple tumors smashed in together. It was really just a miracle overall. And it was ironically my Christmas gift. So for Christmas, I got cancer and was cured of cancer.
Okay. Now I'm gonna ask you the typical Skeeter question. You didn't die, did you?
I did.
Oh, you did.
Yes, that was one of the times that I disappeared.
To my listener, I'll clarify that Skeeter's died a few times. So I just every time she goes to the hospital, it's like, hey, did you die? So update us on your death. That death.
I just remember leaving. My mom says she doesn't remember the doctor telling her anything like that. But I remember there being someone there with me. I remember walking around the hospital with them. I remember going to, I guess, what would be the blue room at the time, what I would have considered the blue room at that age. I just remember, waking up. And all of a sudden, and I know there's this weird thing about, how do you know it wasn't a dream? Well, I've been there a couple times since then, and that's how I knew that wasn't a dream. But as a kid, it's just weird.
People are thinking, oh, well, you're not going to remember anything from 22 months. I actually remember a dream from I was just turned 2, and it was a nightmare, and I remember it. Your memories do go that far back, particularly when there's a significant event in your life.
Exactly.
And in your case, it turned out positive. So a lot of times we'll block out the negative ones.
But it's really weird because I do remember things very faintly before then, like talking to people. I remember we lived in an apartment for a little while. My mom said it was around the time that I got the surgery. There wasn't a 4th floor above us. I kept looking out our balcony and looking up and talking to a man who was on the floor above us. And he would look down from wherever he was down and talk to me. Interesting. And my mom said, I don't know where you got that from. There wasn't anyone there.
Well, not on your plane, Mother.
No.
In hindsight, as a psychic medium and an intuitive, when you look back at that, who would that man be?
He was a gentleman who jumped off the roof of that particular building. Actually didn't jump. He kind of fell, but figured if he could maneuver it just right, he could land. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like he started to fall, and instead of catching himself, he just jumped.
So that was the first time in your notebook that you crossed over. As my listeners who have been following me for a few years here, Skeeter was one of the 2 mediums on my episode of 2 Mediums and a Large. Skeeter also helps me. I kind of help her cross over the spirits that are hanging around, or ghosts. Let's just call it what it is. We cross over ghosts all around the world, and we do that for free on the show here. Again, if you know anybody who's got a ghostie hanging around, just write us at info@theoracleswithjamestyson.com. We'll give you a shout and we'll see what you have. Skeeter also thought it was kind of normal just to go hang out with basically Bigfoot in the backyard. How did you actually get involved in them? Or were they just something that was as a kid, you don't know any better? Can I go off and talk to the giant monkeys in the forest? Or how did that work?
My parents at the time were helping my grandparents build homes up there. So, with all the adults busy, and my grandma would be in the main house cooking, and, my aunts, everybody would be busy. So one less kid in the house wasn't missed. So I would go outside, and I knew if I followed the cliff wall and the streams down and the river down, I could follow them back up. I'd go out, and before I knew it, I knew someone was following me. I knew someone was trying to interact with me. It's weird. I'd get hungry, and I'd hear, well, go to your left, keep going, hot, cold, 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 warmer, warmer, hot. There you go, strawberries or raspberries. And eventually, you start hearing footsteps behind you, and you'd catch glimpses. One of the big things that stands out to me is that I know I saw their faces because I actually, for some odd reason, I did block these memories out at one point. And there was something about terracotta sun faces. The big nose, the eyes, and the big lip smile. When I actually started working with my therapist, the memory unlocked. And it was like, oh yeah, I remember him. He used to follow me around and make sure that I did make it to wherever I was going and make it back before my dad knew what I was up to.
So that's your lovely babysitter was Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you were dealing with them?
Oh God, that would have been between the ages of 2 and maybe 7 or 8.
Okay. So you were just a little nose picker out with the Bigfoot. So they'd be really Bigfoot feet.
They'd be big feet.
Bigfoot, or what they like to be called, Sasquatch.
I just remember them as big fuzzies.
Big fuzzies.
Or monkey man.
One of the things that you used to describe yourself as a kid, as a school age child, it was you're a hedge witch. Could you describe what makes a witch?
What makes a witch? It's actually a very complicated answer because someone who works with just candles or herbs or practices meditation could consider themselves a witch. Witches are a practice. They are a practice of a method of some sort that relates to spirit or spiritualism. There are atheist witches. There are very spiritual witches. Not all witches are pagan. Not all pagans are witches. So it's a very broad descriptive term. And anyone who believes in magic of any kind can honestly be a witch. However, some witches may argue with me on that and say, no, it takes a lot more. And I kind of agree with them. It does take a little bit more study, a little bit more practice. It takes discipline. It takes training. Some take it to extremes such as you have to be part of a coven. There are many solitary witches. So I do apologize if I offend anyone because I know it's such a broad area and I know I'm going to leave someone or something out. And I'm trying to keep it as broad as possible because it really is a very unique collection of individuals who have found a way to reclaim their power themselves and connect with what works for them through magic. It's
kind of like there's the people who claim to be shamans. Some say, well, you don't have to be born a shaman or hit 3 times by lightning and things like that. But there's other ones who say, no, you have to go up to this mountain, get hit 3 times with lightning and come down. So there's an argument back and forth. But I think you kind of, using your term, encapsulated it quite well. To become a witch is an understanding and a belief system, but an active use of your understanding and belief system to help others. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You could look up a dictionary definition of a witch, but I really don't think that's what it really is. No,
the dictionary has a very blasé description of witches. I just consider witches, they're fun. They have a path, or they're learning their path, or They're unlearning themselves so that they can walk their path. It's just a really neat group of people who are, and they're learning, and they're doing, and they're connecting, and that's what it's all about. And it's the same with shamanism, you know? It's someone who is going through the journey of facing their shadow self so that they can help others walk the path and face their shadow self so that they can become better for the whole, better for the collective. You know, witches are just another form of that in a different way. Roses and daisies are both flowers. They're just different and special and unique in their own way.
We're talking to Skeeter Welhouse. If you want to know anything about Skeeter or go to her website, visit it at bluemoonweaver.com. That's bluemoonweaver.com, and you can search her on Facebook, bluemoonweaver.com, and see what she's up to. Skeeter, you're writing a book. One of the things that I was interested in the way the book was described was it's based on a number of your past lives.
Yes. The book is in progress. It's currently in outline form, and I'm doing a lot of historical research for it right now because I'm verifying where my memories are in tune with what is actually out there.
Or what was like written in the historic record, and then where it paralleled your past life regression or your regression. Interesting. Yep. That doesn't fit in the biography or autobiography definition. It's like, okay, I'm writing a book about myself and myself and myself and myself. How far back do you go?
Very, 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 very far back. It's almost like I know where the Big Bang came from in a weird way.
Somebody dropped a beaker off the lab desk, hit the floor, and that's how the universe was formed.
Yes. It's actually going really far back in time. It's taken us to Mars. It's taken us outside of our solar system. It answers a lot of questions as to why there's so much alien activity on this planet, and particularly in certain parts of the world. It explains a lot of mythology. It explains where things went, like dragons. Mm-hmm. Why there's an absence in some of the fossil records, why there seems to be like nothing on the planet for a period of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'm not someone who, I'm not big on movies. I'm not big on reading. I try to only read what I absolutely have to. Yeah. So a lot of the stuff that I'm coming across is what I am being intuitively drawn to. And it's really, even for me, when I find affirmation of something that I saw while writing this book, it's like, oh my God, that was real. I didn't imagine it. That was something that does exist. It has been seen.
Very cool. And you were not Cleopatra, right?
No.
Good, yeah.
No, I avoided that one.
I don't know how many people I've talked to who, I was Cleopatra in a past life. Oh, you were a lot. You and everybody else who... No, that's not how that works. There was probably only one Cleopatra. Well, in this plane anyway.
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah, no kidding.
There's actually a lot to that.
Yeah, I'm not going to get sidetracked with who's Cleopatra and who's not. I'm pretty sure it was Elizabeth Taylor, but that's
yes.
The only one I know of. Skeeter, leaving Cleopatra aside, is it 3 different books?
It's actually 4 different books.
Oh, okay. What's it going to be called?
It's actually the Trinity Oracle, the Trinity Chronicles.
Oh, okay, the Trinity Chronicles. That's why I was thinking it was 3, because of the Trinity. What's your estimated publish date?
We were hoping to have it out in time for the Oregon Ghost Conference in 2020. I am working with someone who is helping me try to piece all the pieces together. So right now it's looking like it's going to be 2021.
Okay.
So we're going to hopefully present it at Oregon Ghost Conference at 2021.
Okay. Is there pictures in it?
What?
Is there pictures in it? Because I'm not going to read it unless there's pictures.
I am doing some drawings of some of the things that I have seen, and there will be pictures in there.
Excellent.
We are also playing with the idea of putting together, actually making my scrapbook into a book of its own so that people can see how I tied all the pieces together. Next year we are, because I'm supposed to start hitting the road and traveling, next year at Oregon Ghost Conference we are going to be presenting another book I'm working on that has lots of pictures for you, James.
Oh, good.
It's called Do You See Me? Can You See Me?
Oh, great. A coloring book. Thanks.
And, well, you know all my drawings, when I see certain things, I can actually draw them if they had let me.
Yes.
And we're going to go hit the road, and I'm going to actually make a collection with the stories and who these people were, where I found them, and make a book of it so that people can see that, you know, some of us do see people as if it's like me looking at you face to face. But the way I sometimes, and the majority of the way I see it, is almost as if they're being hit by a strobe light.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I see them as just... No, I don't see them. I just know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's something you told me a couple of years ago, that when people ask me, like, what do you see or how do you see them? I'm just... My answer that you told me I was going to be giving was, I just know. Which is the most awkward answer, because they look at you like, yeah, right. And I'm thinking, hey, you're not paying for it. So,
well,
take it or leave it.
The thing people don't realize about the knowing, it's like seeing a memory. You don't have to see it to see it. You just know it.
Yeah. Like I'll know that they have this kind of hair and this color and they're wearing this and their hands are doing this. And I get I don't hear things. I get it all in hand signals. And I've figured out what all the different hand signals are meaning. Well, I haven't figured it out. I think I was told the certain hand signals meant, you know, you got a decision, you're on path, they like where you're going, you've got to do some work, things like that. But I don't hear it. That, I guess, may come or may not. I may be just happy with what I'm doing now. Now, again, going back to deaths, how many times have you died since?
I sat with someone and we've added it up, and it's 5. 5.
Oh, okay. I was a little mistaken because I thought you were at 5 in 2015 when you cracked your skull on the and that you flatlined in the ambulance or whatever it was, and then you had another one about 6 months ago. So
yeah.
So I thought it was a 6. So who knows? Well, you do,
so
because you keep
6
dying.
Then I forgot about that one.
Okay, so you got your 6 deaths. Now, I kind of know, we've talked about what happens when you cross over. It's, I guess the best way to put it, it's like you're getting an upgrade. You know, upgrades are available. You shall die now for 20 minutes.
Well, luckily they're not having to kill me anymore to do it. I think that last time is the last time I'm going to have to die before I go over again. Well, okay. I just heard, don't count on it, kid. Okay. But I think it's going to be a while. Because now the upgrades are coming in a very different way, which I appreciate.
And how do they come in now?
It's almost like you go to sleep, and I normally end up walking down the hall and someone greets me. And I go with them to the hall, and then we go and we experience these events. And then it's done. And I come back and it's like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really strange.
It happens, and for the listener, it's not just Skeeter. Psychics all over the planet. It's a common way of doing that upgrade, or you just opening that side up. And I think when people say it near-death experience, which I call a death experience because you actually die. It wasn't near.
Yeah.
You actually died. So if people have a death experience and they get told you have to go back, it's not your time, they've been exposed to the other side. So all these little filters that kept us from being exposed to the other side are gone now. So they come back a little bit more open.
Yep.
I think that's kind of cool. I don't want to die. It's not the way I want to open all my parts up. But
oh, come on, James. It's fun.
It's fun. Die. It's fun. My luck. You know what would happen? Oh, we've been waiting for you. Come over here. Go. Rat. I don't want to go back. Well, you can. You don't have to cross over. It is what it is, and I think that it's very, very interesting. And the number of people that I've interviewed over the years who have had this experience, most of the the psychic detectives that help the police and the FBI and the military, they always talk about, well, I died back in 1973, and ever since then I could do A, B, and C. So you've really, in the last few years, your we'll call it abilities have really ramped up.
Yep.
And when let's tell the listener about what was going on with you and your buddy when your partner, your business partner, they're heading to Pasadena last year in 2018 for the UFO conference. Now you're leaving Southern Washington State and you're driving. Take us through the events that occurred. Oh my God!
With the highlights.
The highlight, the low lights are even spooky. But the what's really I find really what I love about this is that you had a witness who has never experienced this before, who by the time she got to the end, she was like kind of like mumbling, like drooling. It's like, I'm not going with Skeeter anymore. Yeah, what happened?
Oh gosh. So we took Highway 101 down the Washington, Oregon, California coast, from basically Olympia down to Sacramento. And, we were doing okay in Washington. We had our usual, oh, that's spooky, and, nothing fun. And then we were coming into sunset around the Oregon coast. And the very first thing that happened is that we had the top open, we were chatting, and then we heard this woman scream. And yes, there was a lighthouse near us, so we were trying to debunk what happened. And we watched afterwards the lighthouse go by, and we heard the woman scream. There was like lights spinning, like a car spinning out of control. You could see the headlights spinning and hitting the trees and the rocks. And we watched for the lighthouse to come around, and the effect was much slower and not as bright as what we experienced.
So just to recap, so I can get my head around this, you were driving on the highway and you heard a woman scream. Now you saw what was like the headlights, taillights kind of thing as something's doing donuts down the road. Is that what you're saying?
It was like a car was spinning out.
Yeah.
Like it was spinning out of control and then it was gone.
What was the difference between those lights and the lighthouse?
The lights that we saw spinning with the woman's scream were very fast. They were very bright. They were almost a yellow-orange. And then they just vanished. And they hit the trees and everything as if you took a flashlight and spun it in the middle of the room. And the lighthouse was more of a white, grayish, a little bit of a orange tint to it, but it wasn't the same shade of light. And as it came around, it was a bit slower, and it didn't flicker through all the trees like something was spinning in the middle of them. It just shined through them, hit the rock wall, casting a shadow, and then went on. So that was when we knew something was up, and then we had a ghost car following us.
Now, when you say a ghost car, it wasn't a police and an unmarked car. It was a car that wasn't there.
It was a car that wasn't there.
Right. Could you tell me about the headlights on that one too? Were they white or?
They were that orangish color.
Okay.
It looked like a old, early 80s, late 70s, big square Cadillac. And I swear it was like a reddish color. Very, very big. We were coming down the one hill. We were trying to find a place to sleep for the night. The first place we were trying to sleep the night just didn't work out, so we continued on. The road was getting weird. We had a bunch of truckers just coming down behind us. I mean, they were closing in hard and fast. The Cadillac was tailgating us pretty solid. And I'm like, I'm done. I am getting off the road. And I pulled off to the side, and I'm watching the car behind us. Selena's watching the car behind us. We're watching the truckers just barreling down after us. I'm like, I don't want this guy on my tail anymore. I don't want him. I just need to get off the road.
Yeah.
And we pull off, and as we were pulling off into this pull-out, the truckers, much to my surprise, go through the Cadillac as if it's not even there.
Was that at which point you realized it was a non-existent car? Or did you kind of have a feeling beforehand?
I actually didn't have a tag on it before, and that was really weird for me. That was actually a little upsetting for me, because normally I'm really good at picking up on that stuff, and I kept looking back going, there's something off about the car, but I couldn't tag it.
That's kind of cool. It's you didn't pick it up until the tractor trailer units went right through it.
Exactly.
Now, do you think that car is always on that road, kind of like the lady who spun out? Do you with your fancy know-it-all?
I believe those are a part of the Route 101, Highway 101 history.
So that would,
I think those are consistent.
Okay, so you would have come across an accident scene, and then you just had this other car that was following you. Do you think it was actually following you, or just booting down the highway and you just happened to be in front of it?
I think he was intentionally following us, and I think he was actually trying to push us off the road so that we would get out of the way of those truckers. Because if we hadn't gotten off then, the truckers would have gone through us instead.
Oh, lovely.
I mean, I know the truckers saw us, but they were booking.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how late it was. They kind of scoot down the 101 pretty good. It is a windy road. The speed limit there is 45 basically the whole way. And it's a pain in the butt when you're trying to time yourself getting from point A to point B. But if you get empty roads in the middle of the night, I think the truckers will boot down.
Well, we were going about 65 at that point. And that was making me nervous going down those hills and the curves.
Yeah, and if you don't know the highway really well, if you haven't been up and down it a few times and know where the certain things are, it is a little spooky at night. Yeah. So you ran into a couple of ghosts. That's interesting. What else did you bump into?
The next day is when it amped up. We were like, oh, that night they were just warming us up. They were testing what we can do. Because we did have a ghost attached to the car that night, that first night. It actually frosted over the window next to my partner in crime. And you could actually see the hands attached to the window. Luckily, my car, the guillotine.
Hold on. So the window frosted up on the outside.
Yeah.
And then there were handprints on the outside, right beside your buddies.
Yeah.
Okay.
They weren't too sure at that point. They wanted to go on any more car rides with me.
Maybe they're trying to get out.
Well, the thing was trying to get in. We were trying to keep it out.
Okay.
I knew it had to do with whatever we heard screaming in the car spinning out.
The day before.
That same night.
Oh, it was.
I mean, we're still on the same night. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
Because there really was so much that happened. Sometimes it overlaps.
Okay.
But yeah, we picked it up after the lady screamed. We saw the first time we saw the ghost car was after it attached, and then We pulled off. It fell off the car because, well, my car is what it is.
It's a Teflon to cranky spirits, basically.
Yes. And we went back down the road. The ghost cart showed up again. The semi-truck almost ran us over, but we discovered it was a ghost car. Next night, we're kind of going through the same thing. It's coming into that sunset period. And things are getting a little weird. We just came into the Golden Gate Bridge. Actually, I need to back up because it's actually something very important before that happens. Mm-hmm. We're coming into the sunset period, and it's dinner time. And one of my guides in my ear goes, "You need to find a Denny's. You have to find a Denny's."
Those unhealthy spirit guides.
Well, there's a reason for it. But I don't like Denny's. I never ate at Denny's. I just, no, Denny's was a no. But they said, no, you are going to find a Denny's. And I'm not kidding. We would see the Denny's. Normally you see Denny's from the interstate. It's like, here it is, Denny's. We would literally see the Denny's just as we were passing it. And we're like, this is ridiculous. And we finally get into Santa Rosa. And I look at Selena and I laugh and I go, ha, ha, ha. Isn't it funny? We're here a year after my very first abduction. And Selena looks at me and she goes, what? And I go, yeah, a year ago I was abducted here in Santa Rosa. It was my first time to actually see the ship, see other people see the ship, and then they took me away and put me back in bed. And I knew that they had moved me because I had been in the car when it started. And when it was over, I was in my bed in the hotel room.
Wow.
And so I know it happened. And I was laughing, thinking how funny that was.
Because only you would think that was funny. Crazy.
Yeah, only I would think that was funny. And here we are back in Santa Rosa, and we're having to find a Denny's. And I finally got mad, pulled off, and I hit Google, and we found an IHOP. And the lady inside was amazing. I mean, beautiful, beautiful woman. I swear she was running the whole IHOP by herself. I didn't see anybody other than her in there. There were guys in the back, you could hear them, but out on the floor, I mean, she was working all the tables and everybody was happy. And I mean, it was a really neat place. And me and Selena knew we were going to be out late that night. So we ordered our food. We ordered an extra meal to take with us that we would eat out on the road. And she brought us the food. She brought us free pancakes. We each got an order of free pancakes. I mean, she loaded us up. And there was actually a part of us that wanted to just sleep there. We wanted to just curl up and go to sleep there. But we wanted to push in the IHOP. But I'm like, no, we got to get going. And we kept going. And we hit the Golden Gate Bridge, and it was really kind of fun because we were trying to see Alcatraz, and we were, we talked about, doing the tourist thing, and Selena was taking pictures, and it's the Golden Gate Bridge, and we get to the other side, and and we've got Google set up to take us over from 101 to Highway 1, because we wanted to follow that. We wanted to stay by the ocean. Mm-hmm. I knew something about the ocean would keep us safe. So I was working extra hard to keep us by the ocean. Don't ask me why, but it was absolutely pertinent to me that we stay by the ocean. We were headed over towards 1 because of it. But as we left the Golden Gate Bridge and headed towards what was supposed to be a very popular beach, a well-known beach. We looked it up online. We looked at the pictures of it. That's where we were going to stay for the night. We were going to stay in the state park. Absolutely beautiful. We were really excited. And then we got there. On our way there, we noticed that the world started to go grayscale. It was like, even though the colors should have been bright, they were, I wouldn't say pastel. It's kind of like they were sun bleached, and not in a good way.
Oh.
And it was really, really weird.
When you say
because
sorry, I want to take you back. You say there was sun bleach, but not in a good way. In what way then?
it was like the color was drained from them. You know how you leave something in the sun too long that takes the color out of them and it makes them ugly?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, it was just, these colors were just off, and it wasn't in a healthy way, it wasn't in a good way, and we were it really didn't click that something was off.
Okay.
I mean, we felt it, but it didn't, and we started going into this neighborhood. We don't see the ocean at all. I'm like, we're supposed to be by the ocean. We're supposed to be on Highway 1. There's no ocean. We're going through an area that honestly reminds me of New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this isn't right. There's something wrong here.
Yeah, if you're going south of San Francisco, it's relatively green.
Yeah, and this part of New Mexico is definitely desert. It's definitely not a green place.
So are you saying that your car had gone somewhere else, or you guys had gone somewhere else?
Yeah, we were not. We traveled. We were somewhere else, because when we actually got to the beach that we were supposed to be at, we were expecting palm trees and a big a guard shack with lots of flowers in front of it. We're going down this icky little road in this creepy little neighborhood that reminds me of a place in Belen, New Mexico. The way we used to drive to my aunt's house, it just always creeped me out. It was the area where my cousin always picked on me about La Llorona going to steal me away. And I'm not feeling good. Selena looks up above us, and there's big freaking black owl above us, sitting on the of all things, the wires, the telephone wires, the electric wires. Owls have talons.
Yeah, that's not someplace an owl would sit.
No, that's not someplace an owl would sit. And that was just, there was something very wrong about it, and it didn't have, when the car lights hit its eyes, the eyes didn't reflect back.
Oh, that's just a little on the creepy side. Yeah.
Yeah. And Selena's like, that's not right. And I'm like, no, it's not right. We get to the guard shack, and it looks like it's been boarded up and vacant for a long time. We go past it, we go to the right, we go down the back. The sun is just on the water. It's just about to go down. There's one vehicle. I mean, seriously, Stephen King couldn't have written this scene any better. There's one vehicle sitting there, and it's a family getting back in their car. And I look at Selena, I go, we're not staying here for the night. And she's like, no. And I'm like, let's just use the bathroom, get the hell out of here. We pull up. The family's getting into their minivan. It's a red minivan. And as we're getting out of the car, the little boy stops, looks at us, and goes, have fun. And me and Selena look at each other. We're like, nope.
We're not going to have fun. Thank you.
Yes.
That's just on the creepy side. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little on the creepy side.
Here's I got to take you back because I'm just like this. Why would it have a guard shack?
So, being a state park, there should be a shack there to
but it was,
yeah. But like I said, it was empty.
Right. And this was summer too. Was it June?
Yeah.
So
I mean, there should have been a guard there. There should have been
people all over the place.
Yeah, and we went into the bathrooms. The lights to the public restrooms were completely dark. There were no lights. I mean, it's just, I mean, there's so much no on this place. Selena's like, I don't like this. So Selena goes into the bathroom. I go into the bathroom. I come out, and I'm sitting there, and as Selena's coming out, this black cat appears in front of the car. I have no idea where this black cat came from. He may have crawled out from somewhere. I'm not going to say he just poofed out of the air. I'm just saying I happen to notice him at this moment in front of the car. Selena comes out, gets in the car. I point out the black cat. The black cat looks at us and then goes around the corner and vanishes. And there's nowhere for the cat to go once it went around that corner. And we could, like, once we moved, we could see around the corner, and there's nowhere the cat could have gone other than to continue down that path, because there's walls on either side. Unless the cat, there's nowhere the cat could have gone. So we're like, no, we got to get out of here. We need to go. And I program in the next location, the next big park that we're supposed to find that's actually not too far from where we're supposed to be for the Alien Con. I'm like, I don't care, we'll just drive all night. We get going, and we've got sand dunes on either side of us. And I'm like, where's the ocean? We're supposed to be on Highway 1. We're supposed to be able to see the ocean right now. Google says we're supposed to be able to see the ocean to our right. And all we've got is these really huge, high sand dunes. And we've got really weird traffic around us. I mean, we're going the speed limit. In fact, we're speeding a little bit. Selena and me are looking around. Traffic is being really weird. It's like we're being passed as if we're going backwards.
Oh, really?
It's really, really creepy and really, really annoying. We get the sense of another ghost car behind us. And I'm like, no, we're not playing this game again. Selena, keep your eyes open. The first hotel we find, we're stopping there. Ironically, about a mile up ahead, we see this itty-bitty little town. It's basically a hotel, a couple of restaurants, and it says, welcome to our beach. We still don't see the ocean. We just see these sand dunes on either side. I whip the car down the road where it's like it says vacancy. It's a hotel. It says vacancy. I'm like, we're going for it. And we get down. We turn down the road, and we go to turn in the parking lot. And I'm not kidding. It looks like someone blew some kind of horn or apocalypse thing. Every car is slammed into the parking lot behind this hotel. There is no life in this hotel. We can see the bar from the street. The chairs are up on the table.
What city would that have been in?
I don't have any idea.
Okay.
All I know is we left San Francisco, and we're supposed to be not too far away from San Francisco. But we keep going, and we go into the back of this, and I mean, literally, there are cars slammed into the parking spaces. There are cars parked behind those cars. There are cars parked parallel behind those cars. It's like everybody shoved themselves into the parking lot and along the street into that parking lot. We can't see anyone or anything in the hotel. It says it's open. And I take my car and I flip it around, and me and Selena are like, I don't want to be on the road, but this is creepy. We wait, and I wait for a couple of vehicles to go by from where we turned off of. I'm like, okay, the ghost car has to be gone. I don't feel it anymore, and I feel something even creepier about this place. Let's keep going. We're not that far from the next location, from the next place. Let's just go. Let's push. We got our sandwiches from IHOP. We're good. Let's just find a place to pull in, and we'll sleep there for the night. So we're going, and we're going, and we're going, and all we have is sand dunes around us. And every pull in, there's either one or three white vehicles pulled into the side. And they just look abandoned, like they were just parked there.
When you say they were common, like one or three or four, were they the same type of vehicles at each location?
It was like there was always, every other one, there was like a minivan. There was always a little white sedan-type car. And it was like it would take turns with it being a truck or the minivan, or it'd be the truck and the minivan. But it was never the truck and the minivan with the sedan. It was always the car and the sedan, or the car with the minivan, or the minivan and the truck together.
Okay.
And it was really weird. And I'm like, Selena, I just turn on. Tell me what you see. I'm not going to do like we did last night where we're not talking. I need you to talk to me. I need you to tell me what you see. What do you see? What's going on? What are you seeing? Tell me what you see. And she goes, okay, this is what I see. And she starts kind of fading out on me, like she's going into a trance, like she's going to sleep. And I'm like, stay with me. Tell me what you see. Tell me what you see. Because for some odd reason, I know she's the one seeing it. And they're blocking me. They're not going to let me see what's about to happen. And I am so mad at this point because they are blocking me.
And when you say they, who are they?
I don't know. I didn't have the slightest clue who they were.
Okay, it's just some energy that is kind of holding you back.
Yep. So I get to the point where Selena starts telling me there's trees. I see trees on either side, and she says she described in the very beginning of our road trip, we had a swarm of bees literally go over our car. We didn't get any bees. We didn't hit any of them. Just kind of came to our car as we were driving and went over the car. As, you know, it's like they caught the airflow. And she said she saw those bees again. And she doesn't remember, but I remember her telling me that the sky was churning. It was churning red between the trees.
Okay.
And I kept telling her, stay awake, stay with me. And we're still in these sand dunes. There's no traffic now. There's a heavy, thick fog coming in. And we keep coming up on a hill, and I'm looking for the ocean. I'm listening for the ocean. I've got the windows opening, hoping I can hear the ocean. And all we've got is this fog and sand dunes.
Now, just for the listener, while Skeeter's talking, I've been on Google Earth traveling down Highway 1 from San Francisco. There is a couple places where there is sand on each side of the road, but it is like they cut through one sand dune and there was nothing else. There isn't a place where there is sand on both sides of the road. Areas where there is stuff on both sides of the road are forest or cliffs, or it's greenery. It's not sand. And it's not dunes. It's either between two small mountain ranges that are green, state parks that are, redwood. So you're describing something that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've done the same thing, and it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Selena's done it too.
So you get down to and you're going our Alien Con was in Pasadena. So
yep.
You're getting down into.
I think we were heading towards Montecito.
Montecito. Okay. So San Francisco down to Montecito. Yeah, that's because you're gonna have to start cutting inland a bit when you get down into that area.
Yep.
It's because, Pasadena is just basically a little bit north right LA. So you got to bounce off. It's kind of where the 101 continues, the Coast Highway.
But all we saw was these sand dunes on either side.
Sorry, the sand dunes, did you say? You just broke up a little bit.
Yep.
So all you saw was sand dunes on both sides. Approximately when did the sand dunes stop?
Selena passed out first, and then I passed out.
Okay. That's always a fun drive.
Yeah. I'm like, woohoo, this is great.
Yeah, we can both sleep and get there.
So when I the last memory I have is us going through the dunes and me telling Selena, keep talking to me, keep talking to me, keep talking to me. And the next thing I know, she's gone and I'm gone. And I hear a voice in my ear going, there's a hotel to your right. Open your eyes, there's a hotel to your right. And I'm driving. I mean, the car's in motion. And I open my eyes, and we're in a town. And we're actually, I think the town said its name was Santa Clara.
Okay.
But I open my eyes, and sure enough, there's a hotel to the right of me. And I swing, I grab the wheel, and I'm like, Selena, Selena. And I'm turning the wheel, and I pull into the parking lot of the hotel. The hotel is a really nice one. It's very expensive. We can't stay there. But it's okay. We're like, okay, and I pull out, and I pull up the app for the hotels, and I find a hotel that's a lot cheaper, and I pay for it online. Mm-hmm. We go over there, we follow the GPS over there, and we pull in, and it's this really weird, creepy, blue, icky place.
Of course it is.
This is the third hotel of the night. Selena goes, Skeeter, I've seen this place before. And I'm like, what do you mean you've seen this place before? She goes, I saw it in a music video, and it was an apocalyptic scene, like the world had just been destroyed. This is that place. And I'm like, it's not that bad. Well, we go to pull into the only open parking space, and there's a dude sitting in it with black eyes. And I'm like, he can have the parking space. So we pulled all the way up to where you check in, and because it's late at night, you have to talk through the little plexiglass window. I'm like, here's our reservation number, here's this. I hand her the credit card to confirm. She's all, it won't go. And I'm like, well, it's already paid for. And she's all, no, it's not. I'm like, yeah, it does. And it says, we didn't receive payment and you can't stay here. And I'm like, well, fine, run this card. None of our credit cards would go. She's like, you can't stay here, you can't stay here. And I'm like, we're two women in the middle of the night. We have a reservation. Here it is. And she's like, it's not running. I can't let you stay here.
Okay.
And I'm like, and we both had a really weird feel about the woman. Not that she was bad. It was just, I mean, it was irritating and I was mad at her, but there was just something about her that it was like, I think she was actually helping us. Whoever she was avataring for was trying to get us out of there.
Lovely.
And as we're driving around this town, I mean, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I think it's Wednesday night. Because we loaded into the convention Thursday. No, it'd be Thursday night because we loaded into the convention Friday. And, you know, it's a weeknight. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and everybody is out. Like, it's a party. Like, there's a festival going. I mean, there's club music. There's people out walking their babies in the strollers. There's families out.
It's in the middle of the day.
Exactly. I mean, it's 3 o'clock in the bloody morning on a Thursday. And I'm looking around and I'm going, you know, it's weird. I know we're supposed to be in this town, but it looks like it looks like a place I know in New Mexico. Okay. And I swear we're downtown again. And she's like, yeah, this doesn't feel right. So we set sail for Montecito again. We're like, fine, we're going to go to Montecito. We're leaving the ocean. I said, you know what? At this point, I know I'm supposed to get by the ocean, but screw it. I'm leaving the ocean. We're going to go to Montecito. We get out of this little town. We're supposed to be headed towards Montecito, and it's getting really, really weird. I mean, we can't find any of the exits. We keep getting looped back around. And all I hear in my head is someone go, where's the one place you wouldn't go? For me, the answer was, oddly enough, a Motel 6.
Okay.
And they said, go. And I told Selena, look it up, Motel 6. And she pulls up Motel 6's. There's not one far from us. And just as she's about to click it, it vanishes off the map.
It disappears off the map.
It disappears off the map. And I go, did you get at least an exit number? And she goes, yes. And I go, okay, I know we were pointed in the right direction. I know this is a series of numbers. Exits are numbers. They stay in concession. Let's just go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Get on the interstate. We're headed. We're following. We're reading these. And we see what would be our fourth hotel of the night. It's not the Motel 6. It's one off to the side of the road. And we're like, you know what? There's a nice hotel. It's a travel lodge. We're going to go in. Let's just go. We get off the interstate. We go by the gas station, and the main road disappears and turns into a dirt road leading into the desert and sand dunes. I'm like, there's got to be a way to get there, but there's no signs. There's nothing indicating other than going onto this dirt road. And I'm like, no, we're not playing that game again. So I flip the car around. Now, mind you, that dirt road is empty as all hell. There is nothing around us. So I flip the car around so that our tail lights are now facing that once empty road.
Yep.
I asked Selena to hand me the phone. I'm trying to pull up that Motel 6 again. I'm trying to get the GPS to show us where we're at, and it's not wanting to. Out of nowhere, 2 semi-trucks come up barreling on the left and on the right of us and shoot down the little road in front of us. I have no idea where those trucks came from. So me and Selena agree at that point. It's a nope. Screw the GPS. I'm mad. I am like beyond mad at this point. And I'm like, okay, guides. I'm calling in all my guides, all of my powers, all of my angels, everything that I can call on. And I looked at Selena and I said, I am going off of Spirit GPS right now. Screw Google. We're going this way. And and in the back of my head, I hear, look for the Denny's.
Damn it,
sure
Denny's
enough,
again.
It's at Denny's again. And we get going, and I see the exit number that Selena was able to get before it vanished. And I'm like, but you can't see anything. I'm like, where the hell's the Motel 6? It said there was a Motel 6 here. Crap, they screwed with us again. I'm really mad. And then just as we're coming up over the hill of the exit, I see it, the Denny's. I see the Denny's. And just behind the Denny's is the Motel 6.
Perfect.
I have never been so happy in my life to see a Denny's in Motel 6.
Now, what city would have this been in? Like, what city would you been in?
Oddly enough, in the morning when all the craziness was done, we were 4 exits away from Montecito and never knew it.
Okay. That is crazy.
In fact, we were headed back north, and Montecito was 4 exits south of us.
So, hold on. So you had not spun, but you actually were facing the wrong direction.
Yeah, we were headed north.
So you got so you were south, Ventura, Muscle Shoals, that area. That's crazy. And then you're now up in Montecito. You never did go through Santa Barbara. And
nope.
If you did, you would have been... Actually, if you did come that way, you'd be right on the water. And I mean right on the ocean. The
little town that we saw did have signs for Santa Barbara, but it didn't have an ocean by it.
Okay, because if you were still on highway... what would highway you'd be on by that time to get to Montecito? You would have been. Holy cow! You would have been on Highway 1. Actually, Highway 101 and 1 they kind of merge right at about that area. So it's Santa Barbara Airport-ish. They kind of alternate. But you'd have been down the Coast Highway onto Highway 1. And off you go. So you stayed in the Motel 6?
Yep. The guy was really sweet. For some odd reason, we talked about Ganesh.
Ganesh?
He's a god of clearing barriers and anything holding you or containing you.
That's it's kind of interesting because that Ganesh came up in a couple of times in readings that I've done as spirit guide. So I wonder if he had stepped in at that point.
I think so. But we got a room. We were safe. We had a good breakfast in the morning. And after that, everything happened. We did Alien Con. It was one of the most amazing experiences ever. I'm sad we won't be there this year, but that's okay. And then when Alien Con was closing up, that our second half of our adventure decided to kick up.
And what was that?
And you remember when I came back from putting stuff away and I told you I just saw my dead ex-boyfriend, dead boyfriend who would have been my husband?
Yeah.
And that he was actually looking like he was my age, and he was across the street, and I freaked out and ran into traffic.
Yes, I remember that.
That was the beginning of the next chapter. And it was really funny because his name was Bill, and I ran into traffic to avoid crossing paths with him because, I mean, it was so spot on. Even Selena said I even looked like I'd changed. It was like I went back in time and turned into that 16-year-old again.
Wow.
We ran across the street, and I'm like, it's not Bill. It's not Bill. It wasn't Bill. I'm hallucinating. We went into our hotel, went up the elevator with our stuff. The elevator doors open on our floor, and there's a guy in front of us wearing a shirt, and I swear to God, and I even looked at it 3 times to make sure. The shirt said "Got Bill," which is the name of Got Bill, Bill.
Okay.
Which was the name of that boyfriend, and that was the synchronicity that told me that had been Bill. And everything after that just went crazy. I mean, if you thought the shirt was weird at this point, it got even weirder on the way home.
Okay, and, hold on for a second there. Speaking of trips, I'm going to run something past you, you psychic. What we're doing with this podcast is that we've put it out there for people who, if they like it, they can go on Patreon and chip in $3 a month. And what that'll get them is a psychic reading. Every month I'll draw these 3 things. And eventually probably it'll come down to once every 2 weeks, but a psychic reading, past life regression, or a numerology reading. It's capped at 4,500 people. At 2,222 patrons, I'll draw, I'm thinking once a month to start, but it may end up being a couple of times a month, and getting a crew of people together to travel to a haunted location or an event, a conference. So if you all like ghosts, I will draw like maybe 1 to 3 names, and that each of those people get a trip for 2, airfare, accommodations, and car rental, and we can go to a haunted location as a group and kind of do a couple of podcasts from that location. And at 4,500 people, then I can, if you like ghosts, so you can go to, there's a really good ghost conference in Sydney, Australia. We can go to Glasgow, Scotland. I have contacts with a number of the ghost tours and paranormal teams there, and you will sign you up for every one of those, and take, just like Gettysburg, we'll sign you up for every one of those. And once we do that, it's going to be kind of cool. It's and because I don't want to make it a prize, because it's taxable, it's just I'm going to open some seats up and invite people along with us. So what do you think about something like that? How would you would you sign up for something like that if you're interested in UFOs and Bigfoot? And
I would.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had an opportunity to go with a guided group, or someone who knows what they're looking for, that would be kind of fun.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun when you go out with someone that knows what they're doing.
I've got connections to a lot of paranormal groups down in Australia, New Zealand, all through the US, obviously, and Canada, the UK, so London, Scotland, Ireland, even some in France. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to being able to take a bunch of people with me. Honestly, to give the money back, because that's a lot of money coming in, and I want to be able to push it all back out. That's why I'm thinking, even at the 2,222 mark, by the time it hits there, we're going to have enough money in the bank account to pull maybe half a dozen people who like ghosts and half a dozen people who like UFOs, and we're all going to go, like Sedona, Arizona, Melinda Leslie, she'll take you out, and with her night vision glasses, you will see them coming and going from a portal that was pointed out to her by people from NASA. And
cool.
I don't mean in the Bahamas.
but that is really cool, and that's what we're doing. So if anybody's interested in something like that, go to the website, theoracleswithjamestyson.com, and just click on the Patreon link. Yeah, $3 a month, and it'll get you in for the draws. And right now, the odds are, because we're just starting up, your odds are pretty good that you're going to get at least a psychic reading or past life regression or a numerology reading out of it. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Again, Patreon at going to the website, theoracleswithjamestyson.com. Now, Skeeter, you little Dickens, you. We finish up at Alien Con. I end up going, I can't remember what I ended up doing. I think I went down to see David Oman in the Oman House, which is another place I'll send you. And David Oman actually wrote a book on barbecue, so he'll cook you dinner. And he has a lovely house right next door to where the Manson murders occurred, and you may have seen it on a few television shows on the paranormal. It's a busy, busy house. So I think I went there, and you loaded up after seeing your dead boyfriend from when you were a kid and headed back north. What happened?
Well, give me just a minute, because all of a sudden my brain just went literally blank as if I'm not supposed to talk about it. It really did just go blank.
Now, this has happened, just so my listener knows, this happens every so often with Skeeter when things are getting a little bit hectic in the astral or in the psychic universe where she's actually shut down. Can be a little bit frustrating, but we'll see if she can actually get through this and get her.
Oh, okay.
You're back?
It's coming back.
Okay.
So what's tapping back in is I don't remember anything between us leaving the event. But I do remember when we got into San Francisco, we got off on the wrong road. We got rerouted big time. But we finally made it over to the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. We looked out over Alcatraz. I asked some questions. Everybody wants to know if the guys actually made it off the island. I heard a yes, and that their families do come back to where I was to honor that, which is really weird. But the guys did make it out of there. They did make it across. There were a couple other things I asked about. I was just starting to talk to the Birdman of Alcatraz when one of my guides came up behind me and said, "It's time to go. You need to go get food now."
Okay.
So I pulled out my GPS. I looked for restaurants near us. I found this cute little one.
Called
not too.
No.
No. It was this odd little town, very cute, not too far from where we were. Little Italian restaurant, mom and pop, really good food. And then I heard we're finishing up, and I heard it's time to go now. So we got in the car and we set up the GPS. We were headed back towards Santa Rosa. We were going to stay in Santa Rosa. The GPS died, and the phones died, and everything just shut down. We couldn't get a signal. We couldn't get anything up. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done. And I asked the guide, who I call him Mason. I lovingly call him Mason. I know the joke behind the whole name now. But I go, you know what, Selena, I'm going to channel. I am going to let my guides drive the car. They're going to get us out of here. They're going to get us safe. And what I'm about to tell you is Selena's account, because when I channel, I turn off.
Yeah, so you're consciously not there.
I'm consciously not there. So Selena, this is Selena's account to me as best as I can remember it. So she says, I turned off. Mason came out. She reminded him to keep it slow because the last thing we wanted to do was to explain to a police officer what was going on. Especially since I'm a woman and I was channeling a man, and he obviously had a masculine voice. And got on the road, and even without GPS, he took us exactly where we were supposed to go. He got off the exit. I guess we were coming up on where we were going to stay, which was another Motel 6, he asked her if she wanted to go dancing. And she kind of looked at him like, no. And he pointed again and said, no, dancing. And when she looked again, she noticed that the dance hall that he was pointing at was next to the Motel 6. Okay. I remember coming back in once we were parked in front of the Motel 6. We got the last room, literally the last room. And I went to sleep, and Selena stayed up and talked to Mason, because I guess they had been talking beforehand, and he wanted to finish out his conversation with her.
Okay. That's bizarre.
But, yeah. So the next day, we looped back down to Highway 1, and we find this beautiful little town. Oh my God, it was just so picturesque. You didn't want to leave it, and it had this beautiful old building that I just wanted to move right into. We see eagles, we see rabbits. We had this rabbit walk us up and down the path. I mean, we're getting signs like nobody's business. We're seeing eagles and hawks and crows, and we're seeing deer, and we had, at one point, we passed a tree that had a raven, a falcon, eagle, and a California condor sitting in it. All sitting together.
Which is, they don't do that.
They don't do that.
Eagles don't get along. Yeah, so that's more guides and spirits than animals.
Yes. And as we're passing them, they all four jump off the tree at once, and each one swoops down in front of us. And we laughed because as the condor flipped in front of us, he kind of flipped his tail feathers up. So we were like, okay, we just got mooned by a condor. We were joking about, how we wanted to see the gods, and we wanted to stay by Poseidon, and we wanted to make sure Poseidon was watching out over us, and we pulled into this rest stop, and sure enough, there was a giant naked Poseidon in the middle of the area between shops in this little mini mall.
Like a statue.
A statue. And we're like, oh, hey, Poseidon. And, the synchronicities, the messages, everything's going really good. And just as we were getting out of... We made it up to Encino. We got off 1. We hit back on 101. We were just coming out of Encino, California. And when you play a video game and you're getting close to the big boss at the end of the level and the music changes? Mm-hmm. Well, the sun was getting ready to set. We were back on Highway 101. We still had a while to get out of California. And it was like that music came on. It was about 9:30ish, 8:30, 9 o'clock, because that's when Kenzie texted me. It was 8:30.
And Kenzie's
so my daughter,
yeah.
Kenzie is my daughter. We always do bedtime together. She texted me at 8:30. My phone died just before I could text her back. Oh. Selena's friend, Jazz, also texted Selena's phone at about that same time. So we actually have a physical tag evidence of when we last had reception on that trip just outside of Encino. Oh, no, it wasn't Encino. It was Eureka. Sorry, I had the names mixed up. It was Eureka, California that we were just coming out of, because we were joking about the old TV show based on Eureka, California. That was kind of a oddity show. Mm-hmm. And it was that music. It felt like that music was on. We were losing signal. I said, it's not a big deal. We just stay on 101. They can't throw us off now. They can't. We're by Poseidon. Poseidon isn't going to let us go. And I'm like, it's not a big deal. We've got the redwood forest ahead of us. All we got to do is make it to Paul Bunyan. Paul Bunyan is right in the middle of the redwood forest. You can't miss the redwood forest. They can't miss Paul Bunyan and his big blue ox. we're good. I know where we're going. I know where we're stopping. We're going to be safe there. We're going. And we're going, and the sun sets, and we're like, we got to get out of California. We got to get out of California. And we're waiting to get into the redwood forest. The redwood forest is something that you can't miss. I mean, it's got the really tight curves. If you've ever driven through it, it's an area that you know that you've driven through. We're keeping between 65, 75 miles per hour. If you've ever driven through the redwood forest, you can't go that fast.
No,
you can, but you normally go off. Yes.
And many people have died in that forest.
And also the curves. I mean, if you want, you can go 75, but you'll find out if your car's a flying car or not. And last time I checked, mine's not. So we're going. We start getting past, like, we're backwards again. And both of us are like, this isn't right. There's something definitely wrong here. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I am so done. We're not doing this again. I'm done with the aliens. I'm not going to be captured again. They messed with us on the way here. They messed with us already. We had to have Mason involved. This is just ridiculous. I just want to go home. And I've worked with Selena. I've actually trained to do some astral work. And one of the things that I've taught her is to send your soul forward and do what is called shadow walking. And I told her, do you remember how I taught you the shadow walking? She goes, yes. And I said, great. So what you're going to do is that you're going to send your shadow out, but instead of pulling your shadow towards you to bring it back, you're going to have your shadow pull you towards it. So I want you to reach forward with your soul, send your soul to the furthest out sign that you can see. Street sign, because there's tons of road signs. California loves their road signs. So she does this, and I'm calling in the big guys. I'm like calling in Fenrir. I'm calling in Morgan. We've got that creepy.
And these are your guides. These are your primary spirit guides?
Yes, these are primary spirit guides, and these are also guides that I don't always work with, but under the circumstances, they fit the job best. Like the Morgan, I don't always work with her, but under the circumstances with the fog and the mist, I needed her to help me raise the mist. And it was ironic because I was asking her to drop the mist so that I could see through the fog. And she's like, no, you want to raise them. And I'm like, what do you mean I want to raise them? I want to be able to see. And she goes, you'll be able to see. Just do what I taught you. You'll be able to see just enough to stay on the road. But raise the mist. So when you raise the mist, you're basically opening a porthole on this level. You're basically opening kind of like the astral field on this plane. So the mist stayed. We left it up, and we're still being passed like we're going backwards. And we're speaking around 65, 70, 75, especially if we're on a straight run. We're waiting to go into the redwood forest. I'm telling Selena, just pull on your side. Pull on your side. It's like a rowing action. I'm grabbing signs on my side. She's grabbing signs on her side. And we just literally start pulling the car forward. We've got our guides helping us. She's called her guides. And we're looking for the redwood forest. We're looking for Paul Bunyan. We are intentionally looking for this location. And up ahead of us, the trees seem to part down the middle on either side of the road that we're on. And they create kind of like a curved effect, like how you see on the horizon.
Yep.
It's like a strange horizon curve. The trees are split. We can see the sky above us. If you've ever been in the redwood forest, you can't see the sky above you.
No,
you've got these giant trees.
Yeah, and it's not straight either.
It's not straight. So we've got this straight shot in front of us. We've got these weird trees curved off to the side. And in front of us, the sky is getting bright, like maraschino cherry red. But it's like neon.
Yeah, here you go again.
And it's getting...
yeah.
And it's getting brighter and brighter. And this time we can both see it.
Okay,
and
so
I'm like...
She's open to this now. It's just not you.
Yeah. Because she saw it the first time, I didn't.
Okay.
So now we're both seeing it. And I'm like, this isn't good. And the next thing I know, I see a flash of lightning, but it's like something was going down the middle and only allowed it to happen on one half of the sky. And I don't mean like a flash of lightning. I mean like, do you remember the old Polaroid cameras with the big flash bulb?
Yep.
That's what it looked like, but only on one half of the sky.
That's interesting.
It cleared. And we're still looking for the redwood forest. We still haven't hit the redwood forest. And we're going, and all of a sudden the sky starts to turn that red again, and it comes to a peak, and then it fades. And off to my left, I see something that I recognize. And I pull it, and it's from a trip with my mother-in-law when we were driving down to Santa Rosa when I was abducted the first time. We pulled in. My brain is going, I know this place. Well, it turns out it's the hotel me and my mother-in-law stayed in the first night. We're in Gold Beach, Oregon.
So you completely missed the marker.
Well, we didn't know this at this time. My brain didn't realize that we had missed it. I didn't think that we were in Oregon yet. I just knew this place. And we pulled in, and it was the exact same place, and I pointed to the room me and my mother-in-law stayed in, but I'm vibrating. Me and Selena are both vibrating. I mean, it's like we had just had IV injections of Red Bull and cappuccino. We're vibrating. I mean, and I'm like, I can't hold still, and I got a feeling we're supposed to keep going. And she goes, yes. So we get back out on the interstate, and we're just shooting. We're just going. We don't know where we're going. We just know we're going. And I'm like, I don't know if I can stop. Well, at this point, this black, it's the Z something. It's the little black BMW that looks like a shark. Looks like it has gills.
Okay.
It's a really sleek, it's black, it's got the blacked out windows, it's got the black leather top. It pulls up in front of us. And I know the car. It's like it's something very familiar to me, and I fall right in line behind it. And we pull into this rest stop at this beach. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to go inside, and we're going to go pee. So we pull in and we park in the middle in front of the restrooms. To our right is a white car, and to our left is the little black car. And I'm like, wow, that's really weird to have a white car on one side and a black car on the other side. And here we are in the middle. And we're by the ocean. We go to the bathroom, and we go into the car, and we both just pass out. We don't get anywhere. We're just like, we're gone. The minute we sit back down inside the car, we're just gone.
When you say gone, you're just like out cold sleeping?
Yep.
Okay.
And we wake up in the morning, we get out, and Selena starts reading the signs, and just before we fell asleep, Selena sent her friend Jazz a text. So we have a time tag of when we texted how all this happened. So Selena, before she fell asleep, sent Jazz a text saying, hey, don't worry about it, we're safe, we're at the beach, we're going to bed, talk to you in the morning. It still hasn't dawned on us that we're in Oregon and that we've missed the redwood forest. We do kind of talk about it. I'm like, well, wasn't Paul Bunyan in California? And she's like, yeah, but maybe we got backwards. Maybe he's just ahead of us.
Now, this is for people around the world and the other side of the country. On the highway down the coast, as you go from Oregon into California, when you get to Redwood Forest, there's a tour area where you can go up and you can get into the redwoods, and it's quite a fancy thing. And there's about a 50-foot Paul Bunyan statue with another 50-foot or more Babe, the Big Blue Ox. I remember those when I was a kid, when I was 13. They've been there for
Ever.
weeks. So, yeah, it's they have been there forever. So it's a very, very common tourist attraction, and it's kind of a fixture that, okay, if I'm basically in California now. So, and that's when you're driving south on the Coast Highway, you come around a corner and these things are in front of you, and it's a good little place to hang out and buy trinkets. So that's what we're talking about with this with Paul Bunyan. Go ahead, Skeeter. Sorry to disembowel you there.
No, it's not a problem because we didn't realize where we were yet, and that's the other thing. Everyone needs to realize that this is a landmark that you can't miss.
No, it's huge.
Yeah.
Lit up at night, and it's crazy big.
Yep. So we don't realize that we've missed this, and we've been on straight roads the whole time. So we didn't even hit the curves. We didn't see the trees. We just saw nothing. And I'm looking, and we're both talking about, well, maybe we've got it wrong. Maybe there's... So we're headed down, and we see a cheese factory, Tillamook, Oregon. And my brain's going, I remember on the way down, the redwood forest was after Tillamook. Because when we came down, Tillamook was under construction. The cheese factory was under construction. And as we were coming by, it was having its grand opening, which is why our attention was drawn to it. Mm-hmm. There were balloons and people, and we're like, oh, that's a big change. And went from being closed under construction to grand opening. Kind of cool. But it still hasn't dawned on us what's happened. And I'm asking Selena, how long was it between the time that you texted? And she goes, well, it was 2 hours. And I'm like, and where we were, is that 2 hours? And she goes, no, it should have taken us 3, maybe 4 hours.
Wow.
And
that's
I'm
crazy.
Like, and I'm looking, okay, so we gained about an hour, 2 hours somewhere, but we missed the redwood forest. I mean, we basically went from having a third of California left and half of Oregon just go by in 2 hours.
Yeah, you were going a little fast.
We were going a little fast.
Now, you have a black belt in memory retrieval.
Yes.
Have you done a memory retrieval on your passenger?
No, because every time we get the opportunity to, it vanishes. It's like they're not allowing me to do that.
So what do you think happened on that timeline?
I know when we got to Wheeler, we were 4 hours ahead of our scheduled time. We were 4 hours. We had gained 4 hours total on our trip. We had jumped time and space.
What kind of car do you have? I need one of those.
Honda Civic, baby. 2001 Honda Civic.
One of the most stolen cars you can get. That's amazing.
That's because they're TARDISes. They keep vanishing in time.
I'm kidding. So, you do a lot of drugs, you and your... No. That's amazing, Skeeter. It's, and I know this happens to you quite a bit. You've been driving down the road and all of a sudden there's been a reptilian sitting beside you, giving you a hairy eyeball. Well, as hairy as a reptilian can. Probably a weave lash or something. These kind of things you attract.
Yeah.
And why do you think you attract them? Is it just because they know you can see?
I think it's part of what I can see. And the more and more I work on my past lives and the book that we mentioned in the beginning, the more and more I'm seeing them. So it's like the more I remember, the more they're interested in me. Okay. And the more I see them, the more I'm like, oh, well, that's how that happened. And, oh, well, that makes sense. it was really funny because when we got back home, the very next day we had the Boeing Employees Psychic Fair.
Okay.
And up on the wall was a giant tapestry. This guy who does intuitive art for oracle cards and tarot cards. And up on the wall was exactly what we saw. It was the split of the trees on either side and that bright cherry-colored neon light.
That's crazy.
It was the exact thing. And I'm looking at Selena going, do you see that? And she goes, yeah. And I go, that's what we saw. And she goes, that is what we saw. And I'm like, it's got Metatron's cube in the middle. That's what that bright light was. And he's got Metatron's cube in the middle of it.
And who's Metatron? Just to catch it.
Metatron is Archangel Metatron. He is the voice of God. He stands at God's left-hand side. And he is known for his sacred geometry, the most prominent of which is Metatron's cube, which is this multi-dimensional representation of a square.
Okay. I understand he was one of the only, there's two archangels that were actually human at one point, and he was one of the two.
Yes.
He and Heniel, I think is her name.
But we're like a couple of idiots. We walk over and go, so, nice cards, nice table, you look nice. Out of curiosity, where did you see that? We're pointing up at the tapestry. And he said, well, I was meditating and I saw this. And we're like, so let's say you're out in the middle of nowhere and you happen to see that in front of you in real life. Do you have any idea what that might mean? And his buddy, who's dressed in army gear, starts laughing, and he goes, did you see it? And me and Selena start explaining what we saw on the trip. And when we get to the point that we saw the bright flash of light on only one half of the sky, the guy goes, you guys jumped a porthole. You guys. So basically what happens is that when you're pressing time, it's like it concaves in and on itself, so that two locations literally touch because you're pressing in on them. So it's kind of like time, and that space becomes looking like an hourglass, the two sides coming in on each other. And then when they touch, it creates a porthole, and you pop out the other side. And that's exactly what we did. We pressed in on one side, the other side met us, and when we hit that point, Metatron's cube, that perfect point where everything lined up, we popped out the other side.
But why you?
Because I knew how to do it. I didn't know I knew how to do it, but I did know how to do it. Because when we raised the mist, we created an opening in the astral field for us to travel in. When I told Selena to use the shadow walking to basically row us to increase the momentum of the car beyond what the speedometer would read, we created a bubble in front of us, and it pressed in so much that it literally created that pop. And it was really funny because we passed. Selena goes, did you see that? And I kind of caught him like, what did you see? And she goes, it was a gray, and you should have seen his face. And I'm like, what is his
gray,
face?
Did you say?
It was a tall gray.
A tall gray, you should have seen his face. Wow.
Because I guess his mouth was open like, oh, crap, I didn't know they could do that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
when I asked my guy...
It's a 2001 Honda Civic. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Time travel, no problem.
It's that mysterious sixth gear.
Yeah.
It was funny because I had a guide at the time named Doc, and I said, Doc, were you expecting us to do that? He goes, no. You went above and beyond what we expected you to be able to do at this point.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you do want to skip time, if you want to get somewhere really quick, go with Skeeter.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Skeeter, that's crazy. And again, the Skeeter Welhouse, bluemoonweaver.com. Give her a shout. She does readings. What else do you do, Skeeter? You do past life regressions. You do hypnotherapy, healing. Now, what's really cool about Skeeter's healing, I had a really bad sore back, and I live in the southwest corner of Canada. She lives down in the southwest area of Washington State. I took a couple of deep breaths. She was on the phone, and she healed my back. She made the pain in my back go away. Now, some people will say, oh, it's just psychosomatic. Well, who cares? I had a really sore back. I was rear-ended by a truck years ago, and every so often it flares up. Psychosomatic or not, I don't care. Skeeter healed my back from a few hundred miles away. Very, very cool. So again, bluemoonweaver.com. Skeeter, we could keep talking forever because, in fact, we've gone quite a ways over the podcast time that I'm trying to keep down to about an hour and 20 to hour and 30 minutes. We snuck up close to the 2-hour mark. Skeeter is the one that will come in, and if you have a friend or if you have a challenge with a ghost in your home, Skeeter will show up remotely, and I will talk to you on the phone, and Skeeter will show up and kind of describe your house to you, which is kind of freaky. Probably tell you where you are sitting on the phone. And what's other freaky is the other ghosts that show up because they want to be crossed over. So she usually sits them on the couch or asks them to wait outside till everything's done. And then we interview, and you and I can interview the ghost and find out why they're there. And if they want to leave, you can't really hold them back. I would suggest you let them go because they are trapped. A lot of them think that that's where they're supposed to be, and they don't want to leave. So we talk them into going. If they want to come back after they've gone to the other side and gone through what they have to, they can always come back. You just won't see them as often, if you see them at all. Skeeter, I wanted to talk about the Blue Room, the place that we go when our meat sack is no longer available. So much more to talk about, Skeeter. When are you coming back?
Oh, yeah. Whenever you invite me back, hon, I'm always available.
Okay. Well, thanks very much, Skeeter, for giving me the time and your fascinating experience in jumping time on your trip to the Alien Con down in California last year. And before I let you go, any idea why they were trying to stop you from doing this, or any idea why it was kind of gifted to you to show you how to do this?
Actually, what we found out is that it was a training simulation and a test to see where I was in my training. It actually really thrust open some new skills for both me and Selena. Her life has literally 180 since that. And my life has definitely picked up speed, and so have my gifts and my talents. And I'm really, really curious to see what's going to happen next, because, it's getting more and more intense, and I'm really curious what's going to happen.
If you only knew a psychic you could talk to who could tell you. Thanks, Skeeter. I want to thank you for the time. Thank you, listener. And again, if you think it's interesting and you want to follow along and put your name in for monthly draws for past life regression, psychic reading. What's the other one? Oh, the numerology thing, which I don't do. Neither does Skeeter. Well, she probably does. She does everything. And eventually the trips. It'll be a lot of fun. Just go over to the website, theoraclesjamestyson.com. Check out the Patreon link in the top right corner there. Click on it, and just $3 a month will get you into those draws. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and I want to thank Skeeter Welhouse for dropping by and freaking me the hell out. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Condemned to the long, endless night, and I live in the absence of light. my shadow has life of its own, watching you while you sleep all alone. I'm condemned to the long, endless night, and I live in the absence of light.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. And hey! Let's be careful out there.
Far over the snow, what are those voices?